Welcome back to Behind the Shadows. I'm your host, Harvey Guillen, aka Guillermo de la Cruz, the show where we talk about all things shadows with cast, crew, and celebrity friends. Today's guest is Emmy-nominated director extraordinaire Tig Fong. We talk about the potential dangers in the world of stunt and his favorite actor to direct in stunts. Stay tuned to Behind the Shadows.
Breathing is so overwhelming, heartbeats are a hassle. Tell me, why would anyone want to be alive? Death might have a reputation before she arrives, but trust me, we have way more fun in the afterlife. We have way more fun in the afterlife.
I'm so excited for today's guest. It's the one, the only, Tig Fong. Yes!
Hey!
Hi!
How's it going? Hey!
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. You?
I'm doing great. Tig, we met on the set of What We Do in the Shadows first season. Now, for many of you, you may not know this, but our friend here is Emmy nominated for the show that we are going to be talking about today. Tig is not only just an amazing stunt coordinator director, but he's also directed episodes of What We Do in the Shadows, and not a lot of people know that. So we're going to be talking about that today. First and foremost, welcome to the show, Tig.
Thank you.
And I'm so excited for this episode. Last night's episode.
Oh, so am I. Yeah.
Last night's episode was a beast. It was one of I think it's my favorite episode, if not one of my top two, because of how much action and how much planning and stunt work went into this episode, and the way that it came out last night, so seamless, so beautiful, but people don't know how much work goes into that. So why don't you tell us a little bit of how much it took to make this come to life?
Well, you know, I mean, we knew that we were going to build up this scene to be visually rich, you know, and that's executed so excellently by Shane Fox and the design team, and they made such a beautiful environment. And we really wanted to, and then we really wanted to punctuate all of that with a fantastic action scene. And as we left last season, we got a taste of Guillermo fighting Nandor, and I think that it was so fun, and I think it really just left audiences wanting more. So we knew that we had to up the ante. We had to really kind of bring that action up within the realm of what we can do, of course, you know, in terms of making sense, human versus vampire, even an especially gifted human. So there was a lot of thought prior to building a single beat or move into what made sense for this to happen, and how do we extend that action? How is it not immediately over because of what we might guess is an apparent mismatch? But of course, Guillermo surprises us with some athleticism and some mastery of weapons that you would have saw last night. So, you know, and hopefully that was delightful for the audience as it was for me to watch, as much as it was to build.
We had a conversation about this last night. We introduced, we were trying to justify if Guillermo could actually, you know, there's a scene where he picks up a long stick from the car, swings it into this, like, you know, what would you compare that to? Like, I always say it's like Gambit from X-Men, who controls that stick, you know?
That is correct. That's bow staff movement. Yes.
Bow staff movement. And I was, we stopped for a second, and then there was a conversation of like, where did he pick this up? Was it always in him? But we forgot that he's been in London for a year. And in a year, we don't know what he's been doing. He's been fighting himself, you know, emotionally. He's been asking himself questions. He's been training behind our backs to perfect the skills that are organic in him. And yeah, he comes back with skills that we were like, whoa, what happened that year? Which we never saw because we fly over, you know, back to the States, or not fly over, but get put in a crate again. And we don't know what's happened. And so we're going to be getting sprinkles of information of what that year entailed. And one of those sprinkles was, yeah, I believe it. I believe that he became better, you know, at his, like, you know, fighting skills. And that's how he justified doing that scene? Because that was the big question, wasn't it? It was like, would that make sense if he did this?
Right.
Yeah.
And for our audience, and going back to, your question about prep, I mean, this was, of course, a conversation that you and I had leading into it. So what could we put in there that didn't jump out and not make sense? And what could we put in there to make things interesting? And this basically, this backstory that you had kind of filled that in for me and sort of took the cuffs off, allowed us to sort of explore with sword movement and staff movement and other weapons and tricking and everything. So we were really kind of allowed to explore much more given your backstory that you put into this, which is not written explicitly, was never written in the script per se, but it's something that you of course came up with, which I loved because so much room to play.
Yeah, I love when we get to do work together because, I mean, as much as there is stunt work and all that, I always want more. I'm always so greedy when it comes to stunt stuff because it's always so fun. And I think ever since we did our big vampire vampire massacre, ever since then I've been just like hooked and I just like love it. And it's I think the first day when we were rehearsing that, which by the way is like, we get time to rehearse with Tig and the rest of the stunt coordinators and go make this as safe as possible because these moves are epic. Like that scene in the vampire theater in the massacre, that was nonstop. There was no break. So when people look at that scene now, because it's edited in a way where they cut away to the vampires' reactions, they're like, oh, they took a break. I was like, no, that was all one continuous linear movement of fighting nonstop that the Tig choreographed. And I say choreographed. I remember the first day when we were talking about this, like, oh, it's like dancing. It's like steps. And you're like, it is, but it isn't. There's steps, but there's also like, because if you're not on the right beat or the right foot, someone could get hurt. If you're not on the 5 instead of the 6 and 7 and 8 and punch and turn and one, someone could get really hurt. It's dangerous dancing. It's dangerous dance.
It is. It's dangerous dancing.
It's a dangerous dance. And you want to be on the right foot and know your dance pretty well because someone can get injured. But thankfully, we have such, pros on our team that hasn't happened. And I just look at the rehearsal. Sometimes Tig will take video and rehearse the scene before it even gets shot. And I'm already blown away. And that's like only within an hour of rehearsing with him, which is so great. And how's that for you, Tig? Like, do you like working with actors who are excited about stunt work, or you're like, here we go again?
Let me think about that. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's two things. There's two things. First of all, I appreciate devotion and enthusiasm because I am certainly devoted and enthusiastic to making the action for any project that I'm on. And regardless of ability, I'm just excited if the other person is excited or other people are excited. I'm excited about that. And then it's the cherry on top when you have, an actor that is an athlete or a dancer, which I did not know that you were both. I have to say it. No. Listen. The audience has to know. Listen, we talked about the vampire theater fight. So, as you said correctly, and it is cut, to add inserts and add audience reactions and so on. But everybody should understand that is when I first learned about Harvey's ability to do choreography rather, and complex choreography, right? Because we learn we learn that entire sequence in phrases. That's how we teach it. That's how the actors learn it. That's how Harvey learned it. But when we perform it, it's a oneer. That particular one, it's pretty much a oneer. Like he runs through and can and did do all of it. All of that scene is Harvey. People should also know that too. That particular scene in the vampire theater. There was nothing there that we felt was dangerous or inappropriate, for an actor to do. And Harvey did it so well. There was never really a need to swap in, a double. So that was a treat. And that's when I first understood how much you could do, which then again is like takes us forward to then the versus the Nandor fight in Nandor's room. in that season, and then now this, which is the so far the ultimate of what we've done. But who knows what's coming?
Who knows?
Who knows?
You said that with the twinkle in your eye, Tig.
Yes.
We have way more fun in the afterlife.
This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Throughout my personal journey and professional career, life has had its fair share of tricks and treats. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have access to therapy to help me through those tricky experiences. BetterHelp has made therapy accessible. BetterHelp Online Therapy will assess your needs and can match you with your own licensed professional therapist in less than 48 hours. If you ever considered therapy but thought getting started was too complicated or expensive, I assure you it's worth it. And BetterHelp takes all the stress away. You can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you don't have to be on camera if you don't want to. And getting therapy every week as easy as a few clicks on your laptop or phone. So many people have been using BetterHelp that they're recruiting additional therapies in all 50 states. And they have a special offer for my listeners. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/shadowspodcast. That's 10% off your first month of online therapy at betterhelp.com/shadowspodcast. Now back to the show.
You know, it's funny that when you said that story, thank you so much for saying that. Because people still don't believe that was me in that fight scene. Like, they want to not believe it. And people come up to me and tell me all the time, it's like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Who did that scene? And I was like, I did that scene. And they're like, no, I mean like the moves. And I'm like, what are you saying? And it's like, no, like that must have been like, that's like some kind of acrobatic person who's doing those kind of moves, because that's really quick. And it's the assumption that you assume someone, mostly someone of size, won't be able to move like that. It's the commonly gets done. You always judge a book by its cover, and I'm always surprised of how many people still think that that's not me. Even after we've shown the rehearsal video, we've shown us like working on it, and we've shown all the evidence. We're like, Your Honor, here's the evidence, and people are like, oh, who's in the video? And it's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? That's me. I think at one point, I don't know, I can vouch, maybe I asked my sister about this. I think at one point I showed my mom the rehearsal, and she was like, qué bonito. And she literally said, ¿Quién es? Who is that? Which is like, what? But I'm glad that you said that. I have so much fun with the stunt stuff. I'm glad that you pushed me to do it, and because it's easy to say, "Oh, let the stunt double do it," and that's fine. But I like to be challenged, and you did challenge me to step up. And when that season, when I knew that big fight scene was coming up, to have that stamina to do take after take after take, like yes, I hit the gym. I go to the gym 3 times a week, and really commit to myself of becoming Guillermo 2.0, just so. To make it believable, because this character can do this, and that means that Harvey, as the actor, should be able to do this as much as to his ability as possible. So I try my best, and I'm glad that we gave me a little test, because then after that I heard that you went to the producers and said Harvey can do it. Like they asked, can he do this stuff? And you went over and you said, oh, he can do it. And because that's always a question. It's like, should we put the actor through this if they can't do it? Is it going to be dangerous for them? Is it going to be, and I'm glad that you said that, and look at the work that's come out of it. Like the Nandor Guillermo fight scenes, another favorite. People make edits of that on Instagram and TikTok. Have you seen those videos?
Right. I haven't seen those. I haven't seen the edits. No.
Oh, people make videos of your like stunt choreography all over online. Like it's all online.
Oh, wow.
Like it's like people edit it. I'll have to send you some of these, and they add music to it. It's so good. Some of it's like, like I'm a boss ass bitch, like songs to it, and they just show like clips. And some of them are just like really cool edits that people love. The the work that you're doing, it really shines through, and I thank you for it, because it makes the show that much better. Just to have that kind of caliber of stunt and that work be put into it, it makes a whole difference.
Wait, let's talk about bomb ass bitches for a second. Conceptually, we built this thing, and I built pieces of it, and our other stunt coordinator, JF LaChapelle, who actually has a karate school and is a advanced and gifted martial artist himself. We knew there was a bow staff pass, a section that we wanted to put in there, and I think I was off directing second unit. So anyways, he was doing that work with Harvey, and he sent me the rehearsal video of Harvey doing the bow staff work. But this is maybe day one. I okay, maybe no, there was one rehearsal before that, but this was it? It was day one. It was day one. So it
was day one in the Hearn. In the Hearn, right? We were in the Hearn.
Yeah, day one in the Hearn. And
we'll insert the video right here. We'll show you guys the video now.
Ready, and 3, 2, 1, action.
And there you go.
Yeah.
Go on,
so JF sends me this, just sends me to over the phone, and I'm like, well, who is she? My God, this is Harvey. This is Harvey whipping this bow staff around and then hitting like a superhero pose at the end. I'm like, God damn. Well, that's definitely making it into the movie. That's not going to be the stunt double shot from behind or something like that, So that day I was like just so thrilled. Just one section, and then of course, if you watch the fight, there's quite a lot going on. This is just one section, but this one section just blew me away to watch Harvey doing it. And in my own mind, I'm like, okay, well, there's no cheating this one here. We're gonna be looking at Harvey.
Who is she? That's literally what I ask myself all the time.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, when we showed, that was the first day in the Hearn rehearsal, and it was sent to you, and that's sort of what you were like, whoa, that's the same feeling that I got and people got when you videotaped the rehearsal for the Vampiric Massacre Theater. Right. That's the same thing. You're always like, I'm always blown away that it's like, we just learned this and we're putting it together, and it already looks so cool. I can't even wait till we have more days with it and we get to polish it a little bit sharper and whatever. It already looks cool on its feet, and it's just bare, like, trying to beginning stages of the whole process, which is a lot of work, and people don't understand that a lot goes into that. So my question to you is, what does it take, or what goes into preparing for a scene? Like, let's use the example let's start off with the first one that I remember that was a major one, the Vampiric Massacre Vampire Theater. What is that process like? How does that start, and where do you go from there?
Well, I mean, I think everybody's process, obviously, we're going to start with the script and looking at it. And then my process is about, here is the action slug, that you see the and they fight, or, and Guillermo kills a bunch of vampires. It's usually pretty vague like that. So then what you really do is you look at the overarching storyline, everything that we've done prior to that, in terms of what Harvey's character as Guillermo has done. And then you look at, well, okay, what skills could we insert here? And what we did we inserted some Kali FMA with knife work. We inserted comedic gags. Kyle Newacek thought it would be funny if you was spraying in a circle of holy water. And I thought, okay, well, really funny doing this in slow motion and spinning around with two hands at the same time, and and it just and that, by the way, takes me back to kind of like a mantra or a guiding question about all of the action that we make. I had no idea. I've done action for big action shows and superhero shows and so on. Action is very often, it's usually serious. I mean, isn't it? I mean, people are getting hurt. It's shootouts and car hits and all that stuff. And the action has consequences on our show. Vampires get killed, and sometimes familiars get killed. People get killed. So it's not without consequence, but you are making action for a comedy show. And so the question always is for me, as we start imagining the action and then building the action, is, yes, but is this funny? Right? And so a lot of that, like stabbing somebody in the foot and pinning it to the ground, is would be in the vampiric theater stuff. Like, that is effective, it's brutal, it's violent, it's also funny, and so is the way that he deploys the holy water spinning around in a circle. So is grabbing somebody from behind and pouring it down their throat. This stuff it's funny. I mean, it in terms of its action, if the tone were different, it could have fit into a Blade movie. Could have been Wesley Snipes doing all this, right?
Easily.
Except that's right, exactly, easily. But our tone, of course, is we do it in a way that you laugh at it, but you're also impressed by it, by what Guillermo is doing. So yeah, that's really what goes, like, in the very, very beginning, is you think of it like, why would we do it? What could we do? And is it funny? Right. Yeah. And then you only work backwards from there and say, okay, well, how much of this can the actor do? Because then you'll think about, okay, we know we have stunt people, we know we have stunt doubles. We could do the whole fight. Very typically, depending on the level of ability of an actor in any given project, you go, okay, well, we'll insert they, them, whatever here, or they and them here, their faces, maybe a little bit of the action. It all depends on ability. But in this particular instance, as you just said, once we walk through it, we're like, well, Harvey's going to be doing this all, and that's what I came back with. But that's the beginning, is those questions, and then getting together with some stunt people and just walking the action, exploring, playing. And it's always the yes and. What would happen if this happened? Then what's the next thing that makes sense? Most of this stuff just kind of happens in my head, in weird, lucid, THC-induced dreaming or something. But, and then I wake up the next morning and I'm like, okay, I actually think I already have like 85% of this fight built in my head. So that's part of this trade secret there.
Secret reveal. That's the process that everyone should try. But you know what? Looking at this last episode from last night, that must have been one of the more massive, undertakings, because it's just, there's cars, there's jumping from cars, there's running upstairs, there's stick work, there's all this, and it's all like, I remember when I got to set that day to rehearse, I felt like we were in a movie. I feel like we were actually in a movie, because the caliber of this show feels, it's always elevated. And the night market episode has been elevated to a different level. It just looked like we were in a movie, like the details, and just thinking about the stunt and jumping from car to car and going upstairs and then falling down, from the third floor into all of that. It's just, it blows my mind. Like, would you say that's one of the bigger things that we've done in Shadows, stunt work wise?
Yeah, when you think about it, there's fight choreography. There were wire ratchets when you get hit by Nandor after the staff work, because that was his sort of, it was like a call and answer type thing. So that was your call at that point, flipping over the cars, throwing some stakes, and then doing your staff work. And then his answer was to blast you out off of the set. So wire ratchets, wire work, high falls, as you just said. And then there was prior to the high fall, there's the wonderful sword play that we built into, which is another thing that I just another phrase of action, and starting with the question of, how do we extend this? How does Guillermo continue to fight Nandor, who is a superpowered vampire? And I guess I thought, well, what if we involve weapons? What if, again, Guillermo's travels in his travels, he's come across this type of weapon training. And by the way, the sword work on Nandor's side was informed by actually Chinese sword work, straight sword, Jian. And to contrast that on Guillermo's side of it, that sword work was more Filipino with a little wushu flair there that he did. So there's quite a mismatch of styles. I don't know if, for all you martial arts fans out there who saw the action last night, we'll see if you picked up on any of that. That's a little bit of geek trivia for you there. And again, Harvey did all of that. And I must say at this point, I mean, it's your show, but K-Van did all of that too. It was just so beautiful to see these two actors doing stunt work, intricate stunt work, a not very long, but nevertheless sword fighting routine that actually had real techniques in it. And that's another thing is I don't like mimicking technique. I like to incorporate real technique into things because it's foundational to the movement. You really have to pay attention to that. You can put your own flair on it if you want. And of course, it is a movie. But nevertheless, I think everything should be rooted in real techniques. It just makes it that much more satisfying and makes it land better.
3, 2, 1, action.
Look what you made me do! Sorry about that. Get back here. Get out of my way!
Macarena!
Oh, I'm really scared. Oops.
And it feels so organic to really allow these two actors to, once they know the moves and the steps and the actual tools and weapons they're holding, to let them live and breathe in that moment, because that's what makes it look real, as opposed to making it look, like you said, a mimicking move. It's actually, it's in your head. Now incorporate the body, your voice, what we're talking and moving and efforts and grunts and all that. They feel natural in that moment, and that's what makes it look so real and cool. I remember Kayvon, who committed to it completely, went over his steps over and over in our downtime. We go over it. I go over to his place and we go over it because we wanted to be so part of our bodies that we weren't thinking about the move. It just was happening organically because it's so engraved into us that we could actually be breathing as the characters as well and talking to each other. It's like, it's like, you little rascal, and all the lines and the funniness too, and the joke and the comedy in it, to let it breathe. But getting the steps down was the first, and getting the stunt work was the first step.
We have way more fun in the afterlife.
If you haven't heard already, it's Smooth Sack Summer. That's right, this is the summer to keep your balls cool while still looking hot with Manscaped. The leader in below-the-belt grooming is making sure we all have a ball this summer by giving our pants partners everything they need to stay fresh. Dive headfirst into Smooth Sack Summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with our code SHADOWS. The Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 has everything you need to prepare that summer body. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Revival toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies. Did I mention this trimmer is waterproof too? Beach, lake, or shower, this razor will devour even the strongest eternal pubes. Get 20% off plus free shipping with code SHADOWS, manscaped.com. That's 20% plus free shipping with code SHADOWS at manscaped.com. It's Smooth Sack Summer, boys. Get on board or get left behind.
And speaking of first steps, how did you get your start in stunt work?
Oh, gosh, I didn't know we were going to go there. I, growing up, in the East Coast of Canada, I had no community there as an Asian Polynesian child. I was looking for role models, and I guess I found them in martial arts films. I found them in Bruce Lee films and in Jet Li films, and watching those strong Asian characters, it made me want to learn martial arts, and it made me want to do specifically martial arts in film, not just in life. And that set about a very meandering, winding road of acquiring skills, dreaming about what I want to do, and having no idea how to get there. Took years, took decades to stumble onto a film set as a stunt performer. and then never getting to do the martial arts that I trained my whole life to do. That's the irony, by the way. That is the irony. And that is the reason for the changes in my career, right? Reinventing myself. I had to go from being a performer, a frustrated one at that, to a fight coordinator, to a stunt coordinator, to a second unit director, to a director, to really do what I wanted to do, which never ended up in me doing the really cool stuff on camera. But I'm so blessed and happy to, create that for you and people like you, and sometimes to direct it and shoot it. Like it's a wonderful thing. It's very, very fulfilling.
Well, it's wonderful that you started that way in the trajectory that it all takes, its course, just because it leads you to things like you have directed episodes of What We Do in the Shadows. And my question is, how is that cap, like putting on a different cap as like a stunt, director to like, I'm directing this comedy with these actors, and how do you approach that? How is that different?
Well, the directing the stunts, it's just sort of, you grow up doing the action, and then you are choreographing and creating the action as a fight coordinator, and then you're planning it and overseeing the execution as a coordinator. So second unit director, I mean, we're often required to, as stunt coordinators or fight coordinators, shoot little mini movies that in our business, we call previs. And of course, you've seen my work there. And that really is a lot you're just practicing to direct, at least action. Well, now you're talking about, as a director, directing actors. Yeah. Everything felt natural right up to then. And then that was terrifying. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta direct people that talk. What do I do? How do I get them to do what I want? I have no trouble admitting this. I found it terrifying. I still find it terrifying, I suppose. And I told myself, even as I was directing my first episode, I've done since the second one, there may be more. I'm not going to say more than that right now. But if your heart isn't in your throat, are you making art? And are you challenging yourself? And I would say no, right? So I tried to embrace that terror and the, everything that went with that. But I mean, you guys, all of the cast on this show, What We Do in the Shadows, are just so talented and but also such warm and lovely people. It was about as less horrifying or terrifying for me as it could have been, really, because I did feel like I was with family. Yeah. To be honest.
Yeah. I could see that. I guess it'd be intimidating to try something new. It's so funny because I remember the first day on set where you were teaching, stunt, and that inside out, and you've done it for so long. And then when to jump into the director, like you took a different approach, and it was like a softer Tig, where it was like nurturing the craft, where it's like stunt Tig, it's like, Harvey, go over here, move over here, 1, 2, 3, got it, okay, good. And then it was like, yeah, got it, Tig, you got it, coach, and it was that. And then when in the acting element, you were softer Tig, and it was like, Harvey, try that again and do like, it was the adjustment, the approach was softer, where it was like I could see you putting on a different cap, and it was so nice to be like, oh, Tig's like, you're putting on the director hat. This is like, because imagine directing as a stunt director is like, okay, it's just black and white. This is that, this and that. You go over here, don't hit anyone, and be careful when you don't hit their whatever. It's so different because it allows you to feel comfortable and trying things, and try and be like, okay, let's try that, because it's the warmth that you give too, as well as a director, that allows you to feel, like you could also be yourself, so that's good to, that's credit to you.
I mean, that's so nice. Thank you. I just want to take a moment and sit in that. No, thank you very much. Like, it's the first time you said that to me, and it is exactly what I was trying to do. Like, if you're talking about the transition from, yes, you're a director when you're the action director or second unit director, for sure you are. Mostly you're working with stunt people. If there are actors doing action, you might be directing them too, but it's very precise. You know what action has to be doing. Everybody has to hit their marks. Camera moves have to be correct. If something's not correct, you do it again. And your whole day is just getting that action into camera. right? But as soon as you change over to directing scenes, it's like I want to live in the feeling of it. And so thank you for saying that in terms of, more nurturing. Although I believe I'm nurturing in stunts. I mean, I honestly, I'm just going to stop here and say that it has been my mission as, in stunts since becoming a coordinator to really kind of change the culture of stunts, which maybe, let's just say, wouldn't typified as being nurturing or, yeah.
Well,
I
you
believe
are
in that.
nurturing.
I
I
believe,
mean, I think maybe I used the wrong word there, but it is, you're nurturing with stunts as well, because you're encouraging and nurturing to like do your best. But it's very like, that's so inside out that it's like the description of what we're doing is like, and then you go here and then you go there and that's it, blah blah, and let's do it, And with the acting, because it's such, you're dealing with such fragile creatures, actors, that your approach is a different approach, which is like, what do you feel this moment? You know what I mean? Like the asking of, because in stunts, you can't ask me what I feel this stunt should look like, because I'm not an expert. You can't ask the actor to be like, what do you think the stunt should look like? It's like, you can ask for my opinion, but I can't be like, I think it should be a double, axle into a capoeira move. And then like, I'm not going to give that insight, but because I rely on the master of stunts to tell me and then say, how do you feel about that? I'm like, oh, and I have a question, then the question gets answered. But with acting, it's more like asking and like, what do you feel? Do you feel, okay, how about this? Can I suggest this, approach or whatever? So it is a different hat, and I appreciate both hats because they're both stylish and both wonderful. And I must say, and people might not know this, but Tig is very stylish. And when Tig's on set and he directs, and he just has, his ensemble is like 10s across the board. His socks are always a topic of conversation. We always, I remember Kayvon and I were like, oh my God, what socks do you have on today? And he had like socks with like, I think it was like some like puppies on it or something. You know what I mean? But it's like stylish, like socks. And it's like a nice slick like saddle shoe and a nice vest and a collar shirt, and it's rolled up or sleeve. Like, I think it's just always a nice visual when we get to set and we know Tig's directing, because it's always going to be like, I wonder what he's wearing today, because it's such part of who you are, and it's such a nice a thing to come home to, if you will, on set.
We can't have just you guys looking pretty on the other side of the camera. I got to do something over here on my side of the camera, okay? Got to do something.
You do. And then one of the questions that came in that randomly moved to the top, which was here, says, you've directed a couple episodes, and you've also directed several of the stunt work, obviously. Which character is your favorite to choreograph? I don't know where this question came from. So,
my favorite character to choreograph?
Yeah, I don't know what that question.
That's a trick question. Wait, did you write that? I think I just saw you write that down and then read it back to me.
No, that question was that they went all over the internet to look for the number one question, and that question, that's the one that the producers picked. So, yeah.
Well, as we just said, all the biggest action pieces. What have we got now? We've got the Vampire Theater. We had the Wellness Center fight that you did. Oh yes, and that was also Harvey. Everyone who's listening, I mean, that was all Harvey too.
All
and that was
me.
like it's so funny. The mirror gag with the hula hoop and everything else. These are all sort of things that I dreamt up, and then we actually did it. And when we did it, I went, it looks exactly like I imagined it. I can't believe it. And also, once again, Harvey's doing all of it again. It was just like, I can't believe it was like lightning striking twice by that point. And that's preceding last night's work. You know what I mean? So it was kind of mind blowing. I feel very blessed. So
I'm glad you're vouching and saying the truth now, because finally we could put this to rest. People who don't think it was me or believe it was me. I was like, it's me, you guys.
hey, listen, I mean, I'm sure it's okay for me to say this. I mean, Harvey has a wonderful stunt double by the name of Josh Maloney. And
Josh is amazing.
There are things, right? And there are things we are going to do. There's not any reason why you couldn't have done it. Could you have done the wire ratchet that gets you yanked out of frame at the market? Yeah, of course you could. I could have taught you how to do it. We could have done it. But it's not even time. Is that's a risk that we shouldn't take. Ratchets are one of the more dangerous things you can do. People don't understand it because you're going to be pulled into mats off camera. Sometimes you aren't. Sometimes you're pulled into a frickin' column or a wall. You know, in this case, the performer was pulled off camera, but even that sudden acceleration and sudden deceleration can cause you to have a concussion. The last thing we want, yes, is that we can't have, you know, one of our lead actors having a concussion after that. So for that reason, it's not even an ability thing. Could you have done the high fall? Sure, you could have. I don't think you would have been afraid to do it, to be very honest. Should I, as a stunt coordinator, risk that? No. Will the producers allow that? No. So there are things that, you know, we will put in a stunt double for, and for good reason. But, you know, so far of everything we've done, I've not seen anything that you couldn't have done, which is the reason why you end up doing like all your own action. And then to finally answer, this is my very long way of answering your question, is Guillermo has done the most action on the show. So, you know, I mean, by default, it would be my favorite character to build action for. I love when Colin Robinson got his powers and he's like swimming through the hallway. That was a very, very intricate wire rig from our wire rigging team. And that stuff's a lot of fun. When Nandor was floating in the parking lot, you know, about to attack somebody and then changes his mind, like that's a very intricate rig using computer program winches and so on. So I mean, I love building all of that, but those are moments. Whereas the Guillermo character has had these action sequences, like full on sequences.
I love it. I guess that answers the question everyone was asking online. So I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, it's
We have way more fun in the afterlife.
And also thinking back I was thinking about the episode where the mosquito collectors of the tri-state area, that was a big stunt one where we're in that house. And that was a great one. And there was a scene where I was like coming from behind a vampire and I stabbed them from behind, remember? And they like, and you see it go through their heart. And we had done that choreography, but we had it at the last minute, the way that the camera worked and the way it was angled, because this was a tall actress who was playing that. And then when I came behind her, you couldn't really see me, so it was losing its momentum. And so the very last minute, I remember telling you, Tig, I was like, is it okay if I just jump off a box? Like we put a box there and I could like a step up and then down. And then you're like, do you think you could do it? And I was like, yeah. And it's like, okay. And then the last minute, like, we allowed this, like, you know, and it made that scene totally different. It almost gave Guillermo's first glimpse of like, whoa, how did he get that like high? You know what I mean? Like it's like a little like super power that we were being, introduced to. That it was the first time we're he's a Van Helsing, he's a vampire killer, but he's also very quick and agile and all this, like, so it was the first time that we saw that, and to this day that's one of the clips again that online all the kids, as they say, keep editing because it's such like you see the vampire's head and then behind it you just see and you just see like a punch with it. It looks so cool. It's one of my favorite moments that we shot. Then we had go ahead.
It just creates that energy. Yes
Yeah, it just creates that, I don't know, that it's a different energy whenever you see a scene like that. And that was one of my favorite episodes. And that episode was written by Sarah Naftales. All the stunt work by you, Tig. And it was just so good to like see this badass side full blown for Guillermo. And that's also where we lose Derek. That was the first time Derek went missing. And then we just saw Derek.
That's right.
You know. So
yeah. That's right. Yeah. I was just trying to think what's there. Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Yeah. He came out in season 3. He came back, and then we saw him again, which is great.
Right.
Did he come in season 3? Was it season 3? He comes back to the Vampiric Council to be sentenced because
to be sentenced. Yeah.
He's wearing Hot Topic. He's wearing a Hot Topic outfit.
That's right.
Because he can't. Yeah, he can't. He doesn't know how to maneuver being a vampire. So that's So, anyways, we we have so much to look forward to in season 4 because there's more work coming out, but also season 5 and 6 we just got picked up for season 5 and 6 of What We Do in the Shadows. So I'm really, really excited about that. But I'm also curious, what has been like the most difficult, not necessarily with Shadows, but if of all your extended work, what has been the most extended, difficult, or challenging stunt that you've had to put together?
Oh. Huh.
Hey,
That's
so
a
there's
tough
too
one.
many. Too many.
Because there's so many interesting and differing challenges. First of all, if you're doing television, if you're doing stunts for television, and now we've elevated television to the level of the big screen, like many shows, Game of Thrones, and then even here things that we've shot, Titans, The Boys. We do really big stuff.
Yeah,
So
The Boys.
so
The
this-
Boys is a big one. The Boys shoots next to us on our soundstage, and we're
That
friends
is
with The
correct.
Boys. I'm friends with The Boys. Karen, Jack, all those guys are great. I love that show. It's great. How that looks like a massive, challenging show for stunt because it's always fighting.
Yeah, those are sometimes massive moving pieces that we're trying to do. On Titans, we had a huge scene with 3 superheroes versus a multiple gang of Asian bad guys, I guess they are. I mean, my mom used to ask me, by the way, when she was still alive, "You're such a nice boy. How come you're always a bad guy though in film?" And I said to her, "Well, Mom, that's just how white people see us." But anyways, so it was a bit of a stereotype. But anyways, it was weird because it's a Chinatown scene, and it's all these Asian gangsters, but some of them are like even workers in restaurants, and they come running out, and they all know martial arts. But anyways, we built a very satisfying and very intricate fight scene that we shot at night in the winter. We had just had to reschedule a night because a polar vortex had blown in. It was going to be minus 40 Celsius, so that was not going to happen. We waited for a slightly warmer night, but it was still, freezing out and intricate action. And then on The Boys, we had a high rooftop jump with a character that had to jump from one 60-foot rooftop to another 35, 40-foot high rooftop with about a 40-foot, 60-foot span. And you don't know what that takes. I mean, you're bringing in multiple cranes. We brought in a 110-ton crane to pick up that stunt person. And do you need a 110-ton crane to lift a 160-pound performer? No, but you need the reach between the buildings to create the pendulum, and that's why you need such a massive crane. These are things that people don't think about. So you have to have the logistics of, well, can we even park the crane that close to the building, and so on. So I'm going down a rabbit hole here of things like rigging and the intricacies thereof. So I mean, every stunt can have its own specific set of challenges. I think some are easy, some are mind-bogglingly difficult to orchestrate.
But it's good to voice that because, sometimes it's easy to look at a stunt that's 20 seconds on screen, but the audience doesn't know that it took months and months of preparation and work and hundreds of hours of research, or actually putting together, finding the right material, or the costumes have to be talked about. Like, all of this is important, and it goes together, and the final product is just so lovely that people are like, "Oh, that was fun. I wonder how they did that," and then it's good to know how they did it. And I think you've given us an insight of how much goes into the beautiful work on What We Do in the Shadows with the stunt and also with the directing. So before we go, I want to ask you, now that Naja has her own nightclub, we've been asking our guests, if you had your own signature drink at the bar, what would it be called and what would it consist of?
Oh my God. I don't know for sure. I'll tell you a couple. One, it will have fruit juice in it because it needs to be fruity. And then two, and it absolutely has to have a live flower and an umbrella in it. Absolute must. and it'd be Polynesian. It could be in a coconut or a pineapple. Just to harken back to
Ooh.
heritage. And I'll have to think about what I would call it in terms of
Yeah.
a name.
What would be
Yeah.
what would you think I mean, it sounds like a nice tiki drink, like one of the tiki drinks with the
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What
Well, there
would
you
it
go. See, my name is almost in there already.
Tigs
could
Tiki? Tigs Tiki?
There you go. There it is. Yeah.
We just got it.
Tigs
you heard it
Tiki.
here. Tigs Tiki.
Yeah, we heard it here. Wait for that and coming to a bar near you.
And what would it be the foundation? Would it be rum? Would it be I would say like something fruity with rum would go hand in hand, right?
Yeah, I think that's very kind of tropical, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coconut
I
rum.
got those tropical roots,
You got those
Yeah, some
tropical
coconut rum,
roots,
maybe.
honey.
That's
You got those
right.
tropical
Yeah,
roots,
yeah.
baby. So yeah, I could already see it. I could see like the flower. I could see the umbrella. Yeah, I love it. Tigs Tiki. I love it.
Yep, that's
at a
it.
nausea's near you.
Exactly.
Well, Tig, I want to thank you so much for joining us. And before we go, is there anything you want to tell the fans who have now been introduced to your amazing work and continue to support the show and you going forward?
I just want to say, keep watching season 4. You're gonna love it. I love it, and I can't wait for y'all to see my episode. So I don't know. I can't say much more about it. So, but yeah, look for my episode, and I hope you enjoy.
And if you want to send Tig some love, Tig, where can people follow you on socials?
Oh, thank you. I am on Instagram at Tig Fong. At Flying Knee Films. I'm also on Instagram for my photography at Tig Fong.
Another hat, you guys. Check out his
Oh,
work.
yeah. There's another hat there.
But another hat. Well, again, thank you so much, Tig, and I'll see you on set.
All right. Thank you so much.
Behind the Shadows is a production of Straw Hut Media, hosted by Harvey Guillen, produced by Ryan Tillotson, Amada Sanchez, and Tyler Nielsen. Original music by Trevor Bumgar and Chris Hendricks, vocals by Maggie Glass. If you don't already, subscribe wherever you're listening, and make sure to follow Behind the Shadows podcast on Instagram for more behind-the-scenes content. And tune in live every Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific on the What We Do in the Shadows subreddit for an AMA with Harvey and special guests.
Breathing is so overwhelming, heartbeats are a hassle. Tell me, why would anyone want to be alive? Death might have a reputation before she arrives, but trust me, we have way more fun in the afterlife. We have way more fun in the afterlife.
See you next week.